For this assignment, we're going to be working with the color wheel, and you're going to be mixing all of your colors. You're going to start with your primary colors, which are red, yellow, and blue, and you're going to paint those in the large triangles. For this assignment, you're going to be working with tempera paint. Tempera paint is a water-soluble paint. However, it is not permanent. So if you were to walk out in the rain, it would end up running all over every place. Good thing about that is if you get it on your clothes, it will wash out. As you're painting, you want to use just pure paint. Make sure that all of the water is washed or dried off of your brush, I should say. So you're using a dry paintbrush with just the paint. If you have water on it, it's going to end up bleeding all over and just making a runny mess. So we have red in the big one, yellow, and now we're going to add blue. So your primary colors are the colors that make up all the other colors on the color wheel. You cannot make the primary colors. Alright, so next you're going to add the secondary. So using your palette, we're going to start with the red and the yellow. And in one of the trays, you always want to start with your lightest color and add the darkest to it. So we're going to mix up an orange color. That orange is going to go in this bigger section between the two. If you don't feel it's a dark enough color, you got the right shade, you just want it looks a little bit too transparent, you can wait till it dries and then just put a second layer right over the top of it, and it will darken it a bit more. Next we're going to mix green. So again, we're going to start with the light color, add the darker next to it. It doesn't take a lot of blue to make a green. And the last one's going to be violet. So we're going to take some red. From there, you're going to make your intermediate colors. Alright, so the intermediate colors are simply the secondary and the primary mixed together. So we're going to take this violet color, I'm going to mix just a little bit more red to it. And I'm going to paint that one next to it. That's my brush. Then I'm going to take the other half of this purple violet, both the same color. This is different. I'm going to add a little bit of blue to it. So it's a blue violet. I'm going to paint that one right here. I'll do the same thing with the blue and green. So I'm going to take half of this green, add a little bit of blue to it. And then blue-green. Take the other half and I'll mix some more yellow to it. should be able to see a difference in color as I go around. Same thing with the orange. To half of that, I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to it. To the other half, I'm going to add a little bit more red to get the orange red. The idea is when you're mixing to mix it all on the palette, not on the paper, so you don't have a streaky color wheel. There you have all of your colors. The bottom part we're going to be working with tints, tones, and shades. You learned from your other side of your handout what each of those were. Just to refresh, a tint is adding white to a color. A shade is adding black to a color. So this is what you're going to do. In this very first one, you're going to pick any color. I don't care which color you use. I'm going to use red. And in the very center, I'm going to paint pure red. Keeping in mind you always mix the darkest color to the lightest. I'm going to get a shade of that red going to the right. So I'm going to mix in that red a little bit of black. Just a little bit darker. Paint that to the right. When painting with tempera, you want to make sure that you have a soft paintbrush as opposed to a stiff paintbrush. For the next one, I'm going to add a little bit more black. So it should get progressively darker. And then the last one, even more black. So there I just made 3 different shades of red. The other side I'm going to do tints of red. So I'm going to start with white. So I have my white over here. And I'm going to add a little bit of red to it. Light pink. Light pink, I'm going to start off with at the very first one. And then to that color I'm just going to keep adding more red to it until it gets towards the center. So again, I don't care which color you choose, either a primary, secondary, or intermediate color. I would try to stay away from yellow. Yellow's a little bit harder. It will still work, you just might struggle a little bit with the tints of it. So in this section you did a color from the color wheel. Tints, tones, and shades. In the bottom section, you're going to simply do a gray value scale. So a gray value scale, you're simply using black. Can't get any blacker than black though, so instead of starting in the middle, we're going to start at the right side. So this is going to be absolute black. Easiest thing to do would be to get a medium gray for the middle, and then to the right you would add more black to it, to the left you'd add more white to it. So we got just a neutral gray. If you notice, I'm using all parts of my palette. And so as I'm mixing, if I think this is too dark, I'm just going to add a little bit more white to it. And this is just going to be my medium gray, right in the middle. And I'm going to work with just half of that paint. To half of it, I'm going to add a little bit of black to it. Make sure I'm getting it nice and mixed before I apply it to my value scale. And then I'll add even more black. I should see a difference in value change. And then to the left, we're going to add more white. Remember, we want to start with the white first. I'm going to add a little bit of this gray to it. So always add the darkest color to the lightest. A little bit of yellow in that one, so I want to stop what I'm doing and remix. Paint that so it's a little darker. A little darker. So I have a grayscale. I have tints, a whole bunch of different tints of black. When you're done, make sure you put your name on it and put it in the basket.